Time for another ham weekend mailbag, John. Welcome to the weekend, everybody. Welcome to the weekend.
The weekend? The weekend.
No E, or two E's, not three. Weekend.
Yeah, just ND, yeah. He
Here's
is pretty sweet. I'll give him his due. He's badass.
That's awesome. Don't forget, everybody, mybookie.ag, promo code ham1, and american-giant.com, promo code ham. That's promo code ham, right? Not /ham?
American-Giant, promo code ham, yeah. Promo code ham. Go check that out. I think, sleepnumber.com/ham. We got a lot of deals for you. You need to sleep. You need to put some clothes on. You need to make some Masters bets. What do you need? We got a couple cool ones coming as well.
All right. This podcast, you're listening to this unless there was another emergency podcast, and then you're not listening to this because we deleted this.
What if the Niners went from 3 and traded back to 20? Would that be too much action before the draft?
It's like Kyle Shanahan's determined he can draft Mac Jones at 17 and is going backwards. Or Kyle went to all the pro days and actually turns out he hates all the guys.
Would that be the craziest story in the history of sports if he honestly went from 3? What if he traded with Belichick 3 to 15 and he just recouped all the picks he lost and just said, after seeing them all live, I changed my opinion?
Yeah.
Would that be worth the content he gave us for 2 weeks?
I'd be appreciative. Yeah. I would be appreciative. And then he signed Garoppolo to an extension. All right. You go to iTunes, you leave us a review, and you put a question in that review, and that's how you enter the mailbag. First up, John, here we go. This is from No Bad Days 24. I'm sure this trade boosted the podcast this week and will for the next month. Do you guys feel any pressure on this pick because it can make your podcast grow or more, or could potentially hurt the pod if the pick doesn't work out? I love the pod. I still think if they missed the pick, you would still be on top. We can talk about the Niners' pressure all day, but I wanted to ask you guys personally, and if you both wondered if the pick hits the Niners, do they own the decade if the pick hits? The massive numbers the pod can do, ? Thank you for all the great sports talk. You both compliment each other very well. One has hair and the other doesn't. # blue collar. # ham. # 5-star. # no cap. People, by the way, have been DMing me on Instagram no cap videos. I guess when Houston won to go to the Final Four, they all had Kelvin. It must be a joke with them because they were like, no cap, no cap, no cap. And then they got Kelvin Sampson no cap, no cap, no cap. So clearly the same joke they're making with him are the ones people make with me. But what do you think, John?
I want to get your opinion on this first, but LaMarcus Aldridge signed with the Nets, I think, and he was supposed to rumored to go back to get back with Dame and CJ and kind of help them, see if they get over the hump. And then Dame Instagrammed these new millennials or this generation of dudes ain't loyal like me. I'm wired from a different era, no cap. And I was like, God, I just love this no cap.
Don't they hate? I've always heard they hated each other.
Yeah, but I think LaMarcus they have maybe rebounded their relationship since they've separated, and I think he thought they was coming back, and then he sold out to go try to win a championship.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
The story was that LaMarcus, I thought, didn't like the attention Dame was getting. Dame came in, they'd put Dame's face on stuff, promote Dame, and LaMarcus didn't like it.
Yeah.
So the question is, do we feel pressure on the pick to make our podcast grow, and could it? First, if they hit the pick, that's good for the podcast. No question about that.
Yes.
If they make the pick, and especially if it's really whoever the pick is good for the podcast, we think that Justin Fields can be a better player, Trey Lance can be a better player, so that's ultimately we want the high upside, right? The Simmons, Celtic, the Red Sox multiple World Series for Simmons, Patriots multiple Super Bowls for Barstool. That's the aim here, right?
Yeah.
That's the standard.
I think there's a lot of pressure because obviously for the podcast, more listeners, more expansion means more money. And luckily in our operation, we have limited expenses. So the better this thing goes, it could be very, very, very lucrative. Now, it's going to be interesting, but I don't like watching shitty sports. So part of it is I don't want to have to root against the guy. Honestly, I just want the guy to be not just a good player, but a good guy. I don't, and if he's a good player and kind of a slappy, I'll be easy to get around as long as a lot of people care. But in a perfect world, I'd want Patrick Mahomes. Yes, that's what I'm rooting for.
Yeah, I mean, look, Jimmy's been good for business to the point that it's a talking point every week, where it gets less good is when the non-winning drags on. He didn't
we
play
we
this
can't
year.
have
That
any
was
more
bad.
of these 4, 5,
like
6
Jimmy
win
being back and forth is better than Jimmy not playing, because then it's like, well, Nick Mullins.
Guy, I can live without Super Bowl championships. Just give me playoffs every year. Give me the Rams.
Question. If the losses are big, that's almost as good if the wins are big. As long as the later the losses happen. I said this during the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Once they got there, they'd done everything they could for Haberman and Middlecoff.
Yeah. In a weird way. And listen, now moving forward after Andy got it, I found myself rooting for the Chiefs. Like, honestly, I remember getting emotional. I knew how much I had seen personally. Now, I would love, and I was supposed to, when we had the combine, I went up to Kyle. We talked. Bob Lang, who now is with the Eagles. God damn it.
They didn't get a Sirianni.
We had such a good relationship with Bob Lang.
Love Bob.
We have this sweet member of the Niners that was going to be hard to get, was probably going to come on the podcast sometime in the next couple months. But Kyle had told me, we had walked out of the combine together because I had waited him out. And he said he was going to come on the podcast. And then a month later, Corona hits, and that just dissipated. But I do think there is a relationship to be had, because there is no 49er podcast, one, that has the listenership that we do, two, that has the upside of even way more listenership than we do, and just has the talent behind the mic that we do. So it's not really a fair fight. So yeah, if we could get a dynasty, I would have no problem. If you said, John, would you pay $1,000 a month in a tax to have them be a Super Bowl mix every single year? Like, we would both without hesitation. Like, I would pay for them to be good, right? I would make my money off.
I'd have to sit down and crunch some numbers, but $1,000, I'd pay a lot more than $1,000.
That feels low. Yeah. I mean, we could get up to a pretty high number where I think people are like, you guys really would? Yeah, without hesitation.
All right, next up, mailbag. This is from B. Rush, longtime listener, love the pod. In regards to the Raiders draft and Gruden's unpredictable nature, which direction do you see them going if these options fell to them at 17? Best defensive player, any of them. Our defense is dog water. Best offensive lineman, Darashaw or Elijah Vera Tucker. Or 3, receiver, Devontae Smith or Waddle. Really hope we go defense first, but never know. Thoughts? Question mark. Firstly, if Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle's there at 3, they would take him, because how could you not if that guy's there at 17?
Yes.
Where no one's talking about them drafting.
I do think that would it'd feel a little crazy to like double down on
of course.
Alabama back-to-back
years. But it would feel crazy that those guys, maybe you would trade back, maybe a valuable pick. Although it would feel weird. We'd be sitting there going, why is this guy falling so much? Because it feels like they'll be gone by 17. Best O-lineman or best defensive player, or Smith or Waddle? And B. Rush wants best defensive player.
Yeah, I don't think Smith or Waddle you could do. And I think Waddle is sweet. Like, I think Waddle is going to be the best out of them. I have buddies that think Devontae Smith. Do you know what someone told me yesterday? Is that last year when teams were interviewing Judy and Ruggs, this shows you what an alpha Devontae is. They usually, like, if you just ask, like, Justin Jefferson, like, who's the best wide receiver on your team? He's like, me, even though Jamar Chase on the team. Everyone that asked Ruggs and Judy, like, who was the alpha in the room, thinking that both of them would say that, they'd be like, oh, Devontae. And everywhere they went, and it's just because out of respect. Like, it's just like, if you just met someone that played with Tom Brady, they'd be like, who's the best teammate you've ever had? Like, Tom. Everyone just said Devontae. Like, I think when Mel told us that, when you just see people that are like banging the table for Devontae, I think they are hearing from Bama people, like, I don't think you understand the way this guy, he is not going to be denied. And the other thing with Devontae, here's where I'm coming around on him. And this is what Belichick would say. Like, I don't draft people to run 40s or to like weigh in. I draft them to play football. This guy has been playing football at 165 or 170 for the last fucking however long, kicking everyone's ass, unstoppable. So maybe I'm a little hard on Devontae for being skinny. That being said, I'd go defense.
I wonder, one guy, I saw some of his numbers the other day, and I started.
I think that's pretty telling. Ask wide receivers, and both of them didn't hesitate to say the guy that went back to school. Like, that's just the respect they had for him.
Yeah. It's also telling that all the Alabama's receivers apparently answer questions directly. Mac or Tua? Mac.
They got takes, you know.
They do have takes. They should all start a podcast
together. The way it was described to me, that I think they said, I don't think you understand, and I don't truly, the way the generation of kids is kind of wired. They're just like supporting their guy. Like, they went in the class with them. They've been around him the most. Like, I think Devontae and Mac are roommates. Like, Devontae cooks for Mac, or maybe it's the other way around. Like, they're very, very, like, they're like two peas in a pod. So it was like, that's his guy. He wants him to do well. Like, you'd be like, what do you think of Middlecoff? He's good. Or what do you think of Haberman? He's good. It's like, that's the guy you'd stick up for. It wasn't even necessarily a shot at Tua. But I think people really in the weeds on that one have kind of pushed back. It's not even necessarily.
I buy that. One guy specifically for the Raiders, this would be a little out of their first-round character, but I wonder if they feel like they have to go out of their first-round character. Have you seen
Antonio Brown?
Have you seen this guy, Jalen Phillips, who was at UCLA, medically retired, then like came back and went to Miami, and apparently put together like, you know, where they do like all the tests, all the physical testing together becomes one score, like one of the great physical
Spark scores.
Yeah.
Is he like 6'6", 260 and can run like a deer?
I think he ran a 4. I got to go look at what he ran. He ran a 4.56 at 6'5", 260 with an 80-inch wingspan, a 36-inch vert, and 21 reps on the bench.
I had a buddy that went to the Penn State Pro Day, and they have Micah Parsons. They also have this other guy named like Oween. He was like a sweet pass rusher for them 2 years ago. Micah last year opted out, and this guy didn't have any sacks. But the other guy with Micah is like 6'4", 250. Both of them ran in the 4.4s. My buddy's like, I've been doing this for like 15 years. I think I just witnessed like an anomaly pro day. Like, it was like, what did we just witness with both of them? I forget his number 28, a pass rusher, and then Micah. So it's like there are just some guys I think in that range where it's like if the Oween guy falls, if the Phillip guy falls, could they just take a swing for the fences of just a physical freak to get with Gus Bradley? I
mean, look, they've drafted Arnett and Cleveland Ferrell, defensive players in the last two first rounds, who were not, they were higher floor guys. Might be time to mix it up.
I think they had someone. I'll give Arnett a little credit, and I kind of bashed the pick. What I saw this year, just battling through, like, that guy's a tough motherfucker.
I like it. They might have nailed the pick. I'm just saying, like, at the time, the thinking was, this is more of the perception. Was this a
Do you agree, though? Did he gain a little respect when he fell on his broken hand?
Damn right
like,
he did. Hell yeah.
I feel like corners usually, like, aren't super tough sometimes, and that guy was like, God, this guy's tough.
Julian, mailbag. Julian, what size Mac Jones jersey should I get you guys? It's a good question, Julian. I don't know. I'm not big on Patriots jerseys, so I'm good. Thank you, though.
Yeah, same. It's a good one.
49ers. Third, Mac Jones, question mark. This is from Gus Mejia. Hey, guys, love the show. Keep up the great work. It literally makes me sick to my stomach thinking about the Niners drafting Mac Jones. It makes no sense. I swear I'll no longer be a Niner fan if they draft Mac at 3. Yeah, you will.
You think he would be if Mac was throwing touchdowns?
Yes. In a heartbeat.
I agree.
Because here's what would make it hard is that I don't think he would suck. Like, I don't think it's hard for a Kyle Shanahan quarterback to not do something, to not bring something to the table.
I do think this. If he's the pick, Kyle and John will come meet the media that night, right? They always do. You talk after the first round. The questioning would be pretty intense.
But I think the answering would be too. I think Kyle's answering would also be pretty intense.
But I'm saying it would be an intense event. We would probably have to go live right after that event.
Yes. Or
of just the Mac Jones, just like I'd be fascinated to hear, because the one thing you will give Kyle, like, he will explain things.
Yep.
And there would be some explaining to do.
Yeah.
Right?
But I do think this, like, he's good at explaining things. You'd come away going, okay, like, I get it. He convinced me, but okay, you better be right. Doesn't change any of that, but okay. Yeah. I mean, they could do their press conference. Do they have any picks left after that? They could just do the press conference and hit the hay.
Sometimes it happens, yeah. What if they're trying to flip Jimmy?
Lil Drew. Another year, another review. 2021 edition. Appreciate it, Little Drew. An annual tradition, unlike any other. Love the pod. Growing up in Sac and Elk Grove, about the same age. Born in '86. I feel like we have similar views on sports takes, but enough differences to say out loud every once in a while. You're wrong, John. You're a Raider hater. LOL. Keep up the hard work. Good job expanding YouTube. It's the future of content. Wrote this a couple years ago. Still holds true. Been rolling with you guys for years. So happy to see the audience grow with each listen. The fans pay the bills, and hashtag Blue Collar Podcast is what the people need. Keep trying, and eventually you'll be a top 10 sports pod. I'll be honored to say I knew them when. So not even a question in that. I just read a whole compliment, which is not the idea of this segment. But thank you for the 2-paragraph compliment.
Not going to hate on it.
I'm trying to think if there's anything out of that we could make into a question. Sac and Elk Grove.
I appreciate you. The fans are the lifeblood of everything we do.
The fans.
Sometimes I don't think the fans get enough respect.
I love that you're calling them fans and not listeners. Like, well, I listen. I'm not a fan. I just listen.
No, what I meant is just sports fans.
Oh,
like a
okay.
listener. To find us, you had to be a sports fan to stumble upon us once upon a time, whether it was on the radio show or now on the podcast, right? And then you become a listener or, a supporter of what we do.
Sorry, I'm laughing reading because this next thing kind of feeds into what you just said. This is from Champ Breezy. It says, love the podcast. 5 stars all the way. Fairly new listener. Year 2. Sophomore. He's a ham. Champ Breezy's a ham sophomore. Okay. Everyone go subscribe because they're the absolute best Niner talk. Here's my doozy of a question. Move to pick 3. More than QB, hopefully Lance. Let's hypothetically say the Niners will run the rookie QB and trade Garoppolo. Okay. Follow so far? Let's say hypothetically the Niners are drafting whoever they draft and trade Garoppolo. Got it. If you, either of you, were the GM and Garoppolo somehow landed you a first-round pick in return or a second-round pick, would you want that pick in this draft or in the 2022 draft? We know that this is one of the years we don't have a first. Thanks for all your hard work. Got it. So if you got a 1, would you want that 1 this year or next year? If you got a 2, would you want it this year or next year? I think we could probably safely say, I won't say safely because desperation is a wild thing. Imagine if they traded Jimmy and actually got more than they gave up for him. But what do you want? Where would you want that pick this year or next year?
The birdie that told me about the Niners trading up to 3 within the last 3 or 4 weeks before they did had told me one thing they would really like to do is to recoup. And I think part of this, and this is where I've called them, it sounds worse than it actually is, them liars, the way they've talked about Jimmy. Because I think part of lying is to create leverage and to create, you do get to, when you do talk, you do control a narrative. It's one thing for reporter X be like, I've heard. It's another thing for John Lynch, we plan on having him be the starter. And then Kyle Shanahan, I think Jimmy can start. I talked to Jimmy on the phone. That's coming from his mouth. Now, it doesn't mean what he's saying is the truth. It is the truth that he talked to Jimmy and told him that. That doesn't mean, we heard Josh Rosen is our guy, then he's traded. We heard DeForest Buckner is the best Niner, then he's traded. All this shit doesn't mean anything to me. I think ideally they're hoping that they can get someone so desperate after the draft, whether it be Belichick, whether it be the Bears, whether it be Carolina, a team like that, to just be Jimmy at least could get us to 9 wins this year. Let's just trade 2022 first. If they did that, if they were able to pull that off over Friday, Saturday, it would be, I would say, Kyle's greatest move as a John Lynch, Parag as their combination. Because that team, I'd say, is insane. The desperation to give a 2020, even Belichick. To me, if I'm Belichick, my answer is simple. Listen, Kyle, we're pretty desperate. You played us last year, kicked our ass. You look at my roster and just see Cam's the only guy we got. And you know that I like Garoppolo because, as Jimmy went on record, I texted him after every one of those 5 wins after I traded him to you. And we talked about how much I loved him and why I called you on that day because I wanted to give him to you because I respected you and I thought you were really good and I love your dad. But I want him back, and I don't plan on giving you a first-round pick. But could you give me, my offer's my offer. It's a second-rounder. I do think that'll probably be the best offer they get. And it might be a 2022 second-rounder. But I think that's what the Niners should look to recoup.
If it were a trade with the Patriots, I'd want the pick this year. If it were a trade with the Browns, I'd want the pick next. Or the Bears, I'd want the pick next year. I think the odds are good that the Bears are drafting higher than 20 next year. I think the odds are good that the Patriots are drafting lower than 15 next year. So whatever.
I think if you got the Bears 2022 second round pick, there's a chance that's a pick.
Oh yeah, 36
above 40. Yeah. I think, wouldn't you say that's viewed as a pretty good pick if they got it?
That'd be a great pick, yeah. That'd be a great pick.
Patriot pick would be risky because all of a sudden you're like, damn, they just go 12-5?
With our guy? Damn it. They won more games with us than Garoppolo. B. Zink, 1984. Hey, guys, love the pod, YouTube show. Hope it continues to grow. My question is, if the Niners decided to trade for Minshew, then that should tell us that they're not drafting a QB. What day was the trade? Is this from before the trade?
The trade would have been a week ago, basically today. So the trade would have been
on on
The
the
trade would have been the
No, it was on the 26th. It was last Friday. Yeah, last Friday. So this question
the
came in on the
26th.
24th. So I'm sorry, B Zinc. This was because I started reading. I'm like, wait a second. Would that tell us if they got Minshew, they weren't going to go QB? My kids love the show on the drive to school, but I have to do a quick listen before Middlecoff's going to drop an F-bomb. Bonus question. Here we go. There is a question here. So sorry we didn't get to this before Minshew, but that's okay. Bonus question. What golf clubs and balls do you guys use? Thanks for everything.
Well, I'm
You're a
out
better
of balls.
golfer, so you
I've
go
been
first.
DMing balls. Everyone known to man, no one's responded, hoping to get some free balls because I've got from them before. So it's like I'm gonna have to purchase balls for the first time in a long time.
What do you think you'll go with? Whatever's on sale? Pro V1s?
Tailor-made TPXs are mine. The
The
Pro
ones with the
V1s,
triangles on them?
the TPXs.
Or is it, what is Ricky putt? What does Ricky roll? Aren't those with like the triangles or whatever?
I think those are Callaways.
I thought those were tailor-made golf balls.
I thought they were Callaways. I think maybe they are tailor-made, but my tailor-mades don't ever have any of those.
Yeah, they're the TP5X. You can get them with like those triangles.
Oh, you can.
I think Rom puts doesn't Rom putt tailor-made ball.
I would imagine so.
He also hits them off the tee and with his iron shots. How about clubs?
Tailor-made.
This is a what's in the bag. What
I
are
think
they?
we need to get a sponsor to get guys new clubs.
You don't like the Callaway X22s?
Yeah, we just need to get in the modern times.
We do have, you and I don't know, maybe it was last year, we got some Vice golf balls with, if you guys look at the podcast logo, with that logo on it, and it says promo code HAM on the other side. We each got a box, and the idea was, we hit the course, you meet fans, you want to give them something. Oh, yeah, here you go, here's the ball. My real idea was I lose golf balls. I want someone to find one of these golf balls on the golf course and be like, promo code HAM. But the problem is I like them. I don't want to play them. So it's I'm an idiot. I think probably historically I've played Bridgestone for some reason. I don't know. Not the top end ball, usually the middle end ball. I'm always looking to reduce side spin.
Yeah, I've lost some of the handballs. I think at Harding Park, Boundary Oaks, probably a couple courses in Fairfield and El Macero.
Were you telling me this? Or maybe it was in a maybe I was watching a YouTube about how somebody, like basically they gave Tiger Woods a bunch of different golf balls and he knew he could just hit the ball and know what it was.
Yeah.
Were
The
you telling me
Bridgestone
that?
guys. I think the Bridgestone guys were floored. Like maybe Butch Harmon talked about it
Oh,
on
it
the
was
podcast,
Butch Harmon on the foreplay pod, I think. That's what it
who
was.
thought no one ever had a better feel for balls and clubs, and that guy could feel like the precision. Oh, because Nike was, remember when they developed clubs? Every once in a while in my Instagram, because I follow so many good Instagram golf accounts, there will be just a famous, I think we forget how many mainstream commercials Nike Golf had with Tiger. When you just be watching like at home with your family, like Law and Order on like a Tuesday night, and the Tiger commercial of him just on a range, on this line, and them all trying to outdrive him or him bouncing the club. Like none of that now. Like, is there even an athlete that is as mainstream now? Maybe it's so segmented, it's hard to tell, but Tiger was, I think we underestimate how big of a phenomenon his marketing campaign was.
Yeah.
Because I see some of these.
What was
Nike
that David
commercials.
Duval commercial? Remember where Tiger? It was basically like a who's going to finish second, wasn't it? Kind of that.
I don't remember that.
Where they're all in
one.
the locker room, and remember Tiger had been away. Tiger comes back, and they're like, okay.
But even that was relatively a little newer, right? Within the last like decade, there was one that I saw. He walks to the range, and there was a line of like 500 guys on the range. I mean, it was probably like 50. He starts hitting drivers, and then everyone starts swinging at the same pace he's swinging, and it was just like, this is an incredible production. But it was like clearly like 2000, so it's like non-HD, it's crappy. It's like these, and then it just ends with Nike Golf. And you just realize the world changed for clothes, right? The Nike collared shirt really just changed men's apparel, like business casual forever.
Yeah. I think it was probably the biggest change in apparel until the Lululemon pant became a thing, which, by the way, you can get from American Giant. Makes that type of work from home, the athleisure material, but it looks like a 5-pocket.
Yeah. You ever heard of Aplo? Someone brought that up to me the
Alo,
other day.
maybe? ALO?
Is it ALO?
That's high end. Yeah.
You have any?
No, I don't.
I don't know anything about it. Someone mentioned it to me the other day.
On the Nike Golf Club thing, I watched something last year on United Airlines has this like in-flight entertainment. One of the things was just like a bunch of golf stuff, and one of them was they went to the factory of Miura, like Miura, club maker.
Never heard of it.
It's like they make gorgeous clubs. Like their logo almost looks like an M trident, kind of looks like almost a Yankee logo. And the rumor is, like, no one's ever confirmed it, but the rumor was, I guess, that they were the ones that made, like, some of Tiger's famous clubs, either for Titleist or for Nike. Like, it was a Nike brand, but they do some Titleist stuff. And it was,
so they actually, like, Nike kind of cooked the books a little bit.
Yeah, but I think maybe they were actually – it's weird because they make stuff for Titleist. I don't quite understand how it works, like some of these companies. Like, they also make clubs for Titleist, and that actually they made some – were they AP1s or whatever that – I don't know what the model was.
What Tiger was hitting, like
Tiger's blades. So I don't know if they made them for Titleist and Tiger played Titleist, not the Nike, or they made them for Nike. It was like, but there was this whole kind of mythology to like this club that Tiger used that the stamp on it wasn't actually the maker, but it might have been Titleist. I don't know.
I think that's believable.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, do you think Tiger just, 98, like, oh, yeah, just Nike, make clubs from scratch, I'll take them. Like, I'm the best player ever. Like, no.
Do you remember the Sumo Nike driver? It was like a square, a yellow square.
Yeah.
All right. Mailbag. This is from Breakfast86. I'm a frequent listener to the pod and noticed you guys are much less confident. Garoppolo, damn it, this is from the 24th as well. Much less, sorry, this is old. Be back on the Niners next year than those who cover the team. For example, last week you guys guessed he had a less than 50% chance of making it to Friday. Others have him as the prohibitive favorite to start. I understand your reasons for saying they can't rely on him, and just curious your opinions on him. I really like John's articles in The Athletic leading up to the draft last year. Will he be doing more of those in the future? I notice he's still listed as a contributor on the site. Again,
I'll never forget.
Was pre-trade.
They got mad at me last year. Probably right around, I guess it would have been like 15 days ago, basically to a T. Remember when the cruise liner showed up in the bay and one person had corona? And I tweeted, and I ended up getting suspended for 12 hours, and it's so dumb looking back.
From Twitter.
They should sink the ship. Clearly not meaning every human being. And it was at the time, I think it was pretty hot button with corona. And that's the one thing watching the Formula One show. It's like, a lot of the athletes were like, I don't want to get corona. You could die. It was so much unknown, in like March last year. But it was a joke that obviously people freaked out and they wanted me like gone. And and I was like, Tim, and I always felt bad because Kawakami brought me the Athletic. Tim was a great boss, a little bit like Jason Barrett. He'd always fight for your rights, right? Like your freedom of expression.
Right.
And I'm like,
they like a little, both of them, they like a little edge,
Yeah, it's like, obviously, I didn't mean sink everybody in the ship. It's clear what I meant. But Twitter didn't understand. They didn't understand. They wanted me gone. And, we went our separate ways. We didn't even fire me. It's just, then Corona hit, and what happened is the Athletic contributors, like, only full-time people stayed, which is fine. I mean, I wouldn't do it now. I'd repurpose it for YouTube before I do that.
Do you,
sink the ship?
Was that a Friday?
The sink the ship?
Yeah, the sink the ship tweet. Was that on a Friday?
Well, might have been possible, yeah.
Well, just because I remember I didn't know it had happened when it happened. I found out either at the end of it, at that day, or I don't remember exactly. There was like a top 5, not the founders, but someone that was very high up in the Athletic that was just floored by the tweet. Like, hey guys, here's the question.
You guys seen your guys' political tweets? You're mad at my sink the ship tweet?
Did I have a responsibility to take to Twitter and say, I know John Middlecoff, he is not a mass murderer? He does not. I stand with John. He did not actually mean sink the ship. And I hope he gets a chance to explain himself.
I remember you could even the Twitter sent me the thing. I could either
oh, that's right.
Fight it, like go to Twitter court, or just delete it, accept a 12-hour penalty, and by this time it was like 8 o'clock at night. So by the time I woke up, it would be gone. So I accepted the penalty. I got suspended.
Oh,
it's pretty crazy.
Do they still do that? Suspend people for 12 hours?
That's a great question. I don't know.
It's a hell of a timeout. Like it's not even the whole day.
That's pretty
It's
ridiculous.
like, we want to punish you, but we actually don't want you leaving the site. If you could, we still want you creating the content for us if you could.
Yeah.
By the way,
Weren't we? I mean, back to his question really quick.
Yeah.
Like, we were pretty adamant, or I definitely was. I still am. Like, I think we've been proven right. Like, they showed us what they thought of Jimmy.
I said under 50% he'd be on. We both thought he'd be traded Friday, by Friday. No,
but by Wednesday, I knew I was screwed.
Well, that's right. Earlier, but I'm just saying. I think we've lowered our percentages. My original take has always been. Not as always. My original take was you were more adamant for sure that he just wouldn't be on the team this year. My original take was it's just hard to get rid of quarterbacks because it's hard to upgrade quarterbacks.
What's your percentage that he makes it through draft weekend?
I think he's traded around the draft. Yeah.
Wouldn't you say? I mean, it feels like 70-30 he's gone draft weekend.
Because they might want to use whatever pick they get, or maybe it's a future pick and somebody waits until after the 4th round. Maybe they could have got a guy, right? Like maybe Bill's like, well, in the 3rd round, if I can get a guy that I kind of like, then I'll do that. But if I can't, then so maybe
also,
in that regard it happens.
You
after
want to
the draft.
ensure you can acquire a backup quarterback because you wouldn't trade him during camp. Then what are you doing to your backup quarterback behind the rookie? You just kind of get the situation solidified now.
I don't think he's playing quarterback for the Niners this year. But
I just don't even think he's around.
that's the same thing.
I do feel strongly about this. I will be shocked if training camp opens with him running out with the ones.
Is that another way of saying? Is that the same as saying I don't think he'll be on the team, or is that hedging?
That's saying like that would mean I was wrong, and like he still survived. He runs out with the ones.
I just wasn't sure if you were saying like there's a scenario where he's
think how
on the
weird
team,
that would
but he's
be if
not
me and you
running.
went to a training camp practice, and coming out of that little stretch where they run onto the field, we just see like coming out is like the 2 quarterbacks come out of the doors, Jimmy, and right behind him is Justin Fields. Like, wouldn't that look weird? Isn't it hard to
look weird? But that's like that weird look has happened before, right?
But this would be really weird after they just traded all this for him.
I know. I don't think it's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't either.
I think it's going to be Mac Jones's job from the jump.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? It's like, so wait, they kept Jimmy and drafted Mac Jones?
Yeah, you can't do that.
But one thing, opening day was Thursday. One thing I had forgotten about that I noticed when I watched some highlights, some of the regional sports networks that were Fox Sports and were bought out by the company called Sinclair, the ones that were owned by Disney, it's a whole web.
Already lost me a little bit.
But basically, there are, you've been watching Fox Sports West, into NBC Bay Area, into Root Sport, into all those. Some of them were purchased and rebranded Bally Sports.
How do you spell that?
Like the gym. It's Bally. Like that's the brand that is paid. Bally doesn't own it, right? Bally's not the regional sports network. Bally is paying for the rights to have the network named after them.
So it's almost like a naming rights version, but of a TV network?
Yeah, because it's Sinclair Broadcast Group, and somehow the Stadium Group is involved. But Bally is the naming rights of the network.
That's a lot going on there, guy.
So you're going to watch games, and like you're going to be like, isn't that the logo from the gym? It's like, yes.
You're saying like if I'm watching MLB Network and they're just like repurposed, they're just showing a game from like Cardinals versus Cubs or whoever that falls under that umbrella, I'm going to see Bally's.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I saw a photo of the Padres broadcast team and their microphone has like the Bally Sports Network. So I don't know if so it looks like the Arizona ones, the Detroit ones, the Florida ones, Ohio, Kansas City, New Orleans, so I'd imagine that applies to their basketball stuff. Bally Sports Ohio, Oklahoma, San Diego, Bally Sports SoCal, Bally Sports South.
Who are you picking to win the World Series this year?
I mean, I don't.
You gonna jump on your boy DJ and the Padres?
Padres are good. A lot of hype there for the Padres, though. I think I've kind of got to go Dodgers. Repeat.
Who's the best team in the AL?
I mean, Yankees are
0-1.
I kind of root for the Yankees, honestly.
Yeah, me too.
So,
I saw that Matt Chapman of the A's thought they were loaded.
That's what people like the A's. I like the A's. They were good last year without Matt Chapman got hurt, and Matt Olson was terrible.
One problem for the Yankees, and you just watching. We're recording this on opening day is that Stanton came up in a big spot. He struck out with a guy on second. It's just like they
Which is
do
what
just get
happens
to
in the postseason.
Yeah, they just get very like Aaron Judge can do it all, but he only gets to bat once. The other guys, it just feels like swing out of their shoes.
Shout out to the Chicago White Sox, how the sausage is made. We actually recorded this before they played on Friday. But Andrew Vaughn,
He's starter.
he's not gonna start Thursday, but he's probably gonna start Friday.
What's his
Called him up.
position?
I saw they might put him in left field for a game or something, but he was the 3rd overall pick in 2019. He's going to start in the big leagues.
Well, I saw. Did I text you about this? Maybe I didn't. I saw La Russa had a quote like 3 weeks ago. It's kind of crazy. Tony La Russa is their manager. They must have had a major injury, right, to their first baseman or something, or their DH.
Jose
they
Abreu
had an
got hurt?
injury. No, it was another guy that Andrew Vaughn's going to be in the mix to fill this role, and they felt good about it. I think they had an injury to either their. Abreu's their first baseman, right?
Eloy Jimenez, who was actually hurt around the postseason last year.
He tears ACL or something?
Torn pec.
Yeah. So it's like Vaughn probably benefited there. Wouldn't mind if our guy Hunter Bishop gets called up.
Oh. I would not either. By the way, apparently the Bally thing, Bally's a casino, but it looks like the gym. Maybe it's a group that owns the gym and owns casinos. So
wouldn't shock
there you
me.
go. Someone knows more about it. Hit me up. All right. On that note, good mailbag.
Peace.